And we are back on Big Board Sports. Nice to have you with us. And as promised, we would talk with Robert Murray from FanRag Sports on the Jacob deGrom headline in New York. And the headline last night is he is really, really good again. And this time the Mets got him some runs, and he gets a much-needed victory. And the Mets have won a few games in a row. Robert Murray writing about Jacob deGrom, whether to trade or not to trade. What will the Mets do? They're going to have offers for both deGrom and Syndergaard. First of all, Robert, thank you. Good morning. We appreciate a few minutes here on Big Board Sports. And I go right to that loaded question. What are the Mets going to do with Jacob deGrom?
So I think they should personally trade him just because it would reload their farm system and give them a bunch of young talent. But at the same time, I don't think they're going to trade him unless they're absolutely blown away with an offer. I don't think they would trade him to the Yankees per se. I think the Brewers would be a perfect fit just because it gets them away from New York, gets them out of the division. I mean, I know it's still in the NL, but it would be a perfect fit for not only them but the Brewers as well. They really need one of those top rotation arms. They have the prospects to get it done. I don't think it's going to happen, but the fit really makes a lot of sense.
So, Robert, based on what you just said, you like to see the Mets make a trade for deGrom. And look, there are certain teams out there that have the younger players that the Mets are going to want a boatload of those in return. And one of those teams happens to be the New York Yankees. Where do you stand on if they do trade deGrom? Would they actually trade him to the Yankees for young prospects in return?
Yeah, recently John Heyman at FanRag wrote that the two sides can't even agree if they could get a deal done. I mean, that's not even like talking about prospects. They just don't think they can complete a deal on this. And then also, I don't think the Yankees are going to be willing to give up what it takes. What it would take would be either one of Andujar or Gleyber Torres, and they're not willing to give any of those guys up. I know they'd be willing to give up Clint Frazier, but I don't think that'd be able to get it done. I mean, I know they could surround it with other prospects, but I think there would be a tax on what the Yankees would have to give up for deGrom, and I don't think they're going to be willing to give that up.
Would deGrom do enough, Robert, to push the Yankees over the top as opposed to a Chris Archer or a Cole Hamels? In other words, do you think the Yankees should be willing to part with, I know it won't be Torres, but Andujar in order to get deGrom, who's a legit top-of-the-rotation guy?
I mean, I know this is going to be very controversial to a lot of different Yankees fans because they love Andujar, but I would absolutely do it 100% because deGrom is a guy that would transform the top of your rotation. And going into the playoffs, having Severino and deGrom in your rotation, I mean, combined with that offense, I mean, it would put them in such a great position to not only go deep in the playoffs, but to potentially win the World Series as well. I would absolutely do it 100%. I mean, and you also have to factor in that this wouldn't be a one-year rental as well. deGrom is under contract for at least another couple of years. I mean, he's cheap as well. I mean, it just makes too much sense.
We are talking with Robert Murray from FanRag Sports, and the topic is Jacob deGrom. And by the way, you can follow Robert Murray on Twitter at Robert Murray FRS to get all the good stuff that Robert tweets out on a consistent basis. But look, I think a lot of people feel like the Mets maybe should, as you mentioned, trade Jacob deGrom, but many others feel they will not. Why would they not trade Jacob deGrom coming up at the trading deadline?
Because I think they believe. I mean, I think they believe they can contend not this year, but in the following years after this. I know they have a good amount of talent on their team. I think they know that they can win with deGrom. I mean, I know they're 2-8 in his last couple starts, and he still has a less than 1 ERA. But I think if they believe they can contend, which they do, they're going to end up trading. I mean, if they trade one of the guys, it would be Syndergaard, not deGrom. And I think they know they can win with deGrom. I don't think they're going to be willing to part with him unless they're absolutely just blown away with an offer.
Okay, help me out here. Syndergaard's younger. I know the injury concern maybe is what would lead them to trading him, but he's younger, he's cheaper, controllable for one. Why would Syndergaard be the better trade option at this point?
Just because, I mean, he's not the kind of guy that deGrom is. I mean, Syndergaard is really good, but as you mentioned, he comes with those injury concerns. And, I mean, maybe you can maximize his value now. I don't think he's at his peak in terms of performance right now, but, I mean, if you can sell high on him as much as you can, because there's some concerns that he might not ever be the same pitcher ever again. I mean, if you can really sell high on him and get the most value that you can potentially do, I think they would absolutely take that chance.
Robert, let me take you away from the American League, or National League East, if you will, and go to the American League East, where we got a ton of Yankees and Red Sox fans here in the Capital Region. They are atop the standings. I mean, Tampa Bay is all the way back 15 games behind. They're in third place. So this is a two-horse race. One's going to win the division. The other's going to be the wild card. Does it make any difference?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I think the Yankees are going to win the division regardless. I think if they end up getting a DeGrom or a top-of-the-rotation arm, it's not really going to be close when it's all said and done. I do think it matters, though, who wins the division just because of home field advantage. I think that's going to be huge, especially in a potential matchup between the Yankees and the Red Sox. I mean, we all know how important that is. So I think the Yankees are going to end up winning it, and I think just because if they do win it, they would end up beating Boston in a potential playoff series as well.
Out of my own curiosity, going away from the Mets, Red Sox, and Yankees here, you've got the Mariners, who are already over 45 wins. They're second place in the AL West. You have the Braves at the top of the NL East, the best record in the National League, tied with, well, percentage points wise, but tied with the Brewers here. Who is the biggest surprise? I'll add Milwaukee, Atlanta, Seattle, the jumbled division that is the NL West. Biggest surprise so far for you in this Major League season?
Yeah, I would stay with the Braves. I mean, you could see that the Mariners had the talent to really do what they're doing now. I was a little skeptical of the rotation coming into the season, I'll admit. But really with the Braves, I never really saw what they're doing coming. I thought it was going to end up being next year or maybe 2 years from now. But the job that Alex Anthopoulos has done in short time there, the manager as well, the talent there is, I mean, it's unreal what they're doing right now. I mean, even with Acuna out, they're performing well. Their rotation is good. Their hitting is good. I mean, Freddie Freeman's a stud. I mean, and they also have some really nice little bargains in their rotation as well. Anibal Sanchez has turned out to be one of the biggest steals of the offseason. It's shocking what they're doing, and yet not shocking at the same time. I don't think it's going to slow down anytime soon.
Robert, we appreciate a few minutes. Great stuff on a lot of great topics that our listeners are interested here in the Capital Region and Big Board Sports. And for the second time this week, we bothered yet another person who happens to be on vacation. So we appreciate that. Thank you.
Hey, I mean, thanks for having me. Even on vacation, I like coming out with you guys, so I appreciate it.